So what if the plagues of Egypt, what if they weren't just historical events from thousands of years ago? What if there were actually a map of the battles happening inside you? That's what we're digging into today. We're looking at this really incredible mystical take on the book of Exodus from a 17th century mystic named Madame Guyon. For her, this whole story wasn't about history. It was about a personal, epic journey of inner liberation.
Okay, let's start with this quote, because it really sets the stage for everything. A person who has died to self is as a god to kings. Wow. Right away, we're told that real power isn't about taking on kings and armies. It's about mastering yourself. This whole idea is about a transformation so deep, so complete that you basically become a pure channel for the divine. And when that happens, well, no worldly authority can touch you.
So how exactly does this reframing work? Well, it's pretty cool. It takes the whole story, the desert, Egypt, all of it, and turns it into a map of the human heart. The entire epic story becomes an internal struggle. It's not about two nations fighting anymore. It's about two forces battling for control right inside of us.
And the core concept here, the big idea, is something called the inner path. See, in this view, Moses and Aaron aren't just guys from history. They represent a soul that is completely surrendered to a higher will. You know, a state where your own ego, your own voice, has just gone quiet.
And this is where you can really see the two sides of that conflict laid out. On one side, you've got the inner path, that's Moses and Aaron. But on the other side, you have Pharaoh. And he's not just some king from a history book. Nope. He's a symbol for that part of us that's ruled by ego, by pride, by our own stubborn ideas. And the plagues? Well, those are the battles between these two sides, all happening inside one person's soul.
All right, so the first confrontation, it's not even a plague yet. It's a test of power. And right off the bat, it draws this really clear line in the sand between what's real and divine and what's just a cheap imitation.
So at first glance, it looks like a pretty even fight, doesn't it? The worldly part of us, the ego, it's clever, just like Pharaoh's magicians. It can totally mimic real spiritual power. It creates these illusions that look just like the real deal. But as you're about to see, that illusion gets shattered, and fast. And the symbolism here is just so direct. In this inner battle, there's not really a contest at all. Aaron's serpent literally eats the others, and what that's saying is, it's a spiritual law, right? Authentic, divine truth will always expose and consume something that's just an illusion.
Okay, so things are definitely escalating now. The battle is moving deeper into the soul. And this next part, it's not just about who's more powerful. It's about what happens when the ego comes face to face with a truth it can't manipulate, and how it dangerously hardens itself in response. And the plague of lice? This is a huge turning point. Remember those magicians, the ones who could copy the first couple of plagues? Well, now they're totally powerless. This is one miracle they just can't fake. And get this, even Pharaoh's own experts, his masters of illusion, they have to admit it. They're forced to say, this is the finger of God. They see the truth as plain as day. But here's the thing about a hardened heart. Seeing the truth and actually surrendering to it, those are two totally different things. And this gives us a really important insight, doesn't it? Just admitting that God's hand is at work isn't the same as actually surrendering. The ego can literally see the proof, see the truth right in front of its face and still refuse to give in. It will choose its own will over reality every single time. Now, this plague also brings up another powerful theme, this idea that God sets apart the people who are on that inner path. So while the worldly heart is getting tormented by, the stings of its own pride and malice, the soul that's surrendered to God finds its place of inner peace. It's totally protected from all that chaos. And this separation, this difference between the two inner states, well, it's about to get even more dramatic. And it's visualized perfectly in the plague of darkness.
Yeah, this isn't just, a power outage. Symbolically, this is about the deep, profound emptiness of a soul that's ruled by the ego when it's forced to just sit with itself with no distractions. It's a terrifying, paralyzing kind of inner darkness.
But then, in total contrast, you have the Israelites. For them, there's light. And this symbolizes how those who are connected to God through faith live in this constant, inner divine light. It doesn't matter what's going on outside. The light shines from within, even when it feels like the rest of the world has gone completely dark.
So the metaphor here is just crystal clear. You have these two kinds of light. There's the false light of our own human reason and our ego, which, when you hold it up against God's presence, is actually revealed to be darkness. And then there's the true light of faith, which never goes out. In fact, it shines brightest when all those other lights fade.
Okay, now we come to the final plague. It's the most severe, and its symbolic meaning is just incredibly deep. In this mystical reading, this isn't about physical death at all. It's about a final, decisive spiritual judgment.
So to understand this, we have to make a little symbolic shift. The firstborn here aren't literal children. They're symbols for what we value most. For Egypt, the firstborn is sin and everything the world cherishes. But for Israel, the firstborn are those very people walking the inner path. So the plague is a judgment, but not on people. It's a judgment on sin itself. And this leads to this powerful kind of divine reversal. Check out the logic. First, the sinful part of us tries to destroy the righteous part. Then, God steps in to defend the righteous. And how does he do it? He humbles the sinful by destroying sin itself. Not the person, but the sin they cherish.
So the big takeaway here is that even though people on that inner path might face all kinds of struggles in the world, their spirit is kept safe. It's shielded from real harm. Ultimately, it's the things the ego loves most. Pride, the need for control, worldly attachments. Those are the things that are brought to nothing.
And this final quote just brings the whole journey home. It's the core lesson of this whole thing. The infallible way to enter and live in the truth is this: in all things, entrust yourself only to God and see all things only as God sees them. It's about absolute trust. It's about letting go of our own tiny perspective and learning to see with the Divine One.
And that's our explainer for today. This mystical reading just completely transforms a familiar story into a super personal map for your own spiritual journey. And it really just leaves us with one big question to think about. In the landscape of your own life, where's the darkness of Egypt and where do you find the light of Israel?
For more spiritual resources, visit lokaken.ai.